How about the story of people who are making billions of dollars out of billions of naira and exporting fish? Nigeria have the capacity to produce a lot of fish and even export. Look at all this Argungu. Look at Kebbi State. And look at a lot of Nigerians. There are opportunities in this, and people just need to know. For example, if you go into this fishing, even under this line of fishing alone, look at the number of employment you're going to create, look at the income you're going to create for yourself, look at the way it's going to help the government, and look at the amount. Look at the fact that at least you'll be supporting the government in one area.
Today, I'm with Mr. Nurudeen. He's an agro expert who focuses mainly on the rice farming business. He started his business in 2019 and since then, he has grown a very sustainable business. Today, he'll be sharing with us some valuable tips on how he sources his products, where he sources his products, some challenges people face when they go into the farming business, the best way to learn how to do the business so that you won't run into loss, and most importantly, the opportunities in terms of how much you can actually make doing rice farming business or other agricultural business in Nigeria.
Most people think practicing agriculture is all about farming. What are some other areas you think people can actually key into the farming landscape?
It depends on your interests. Basically, there are certain aspects. There are aspects of agriculture. The first of them is crop production. And by crop production, you have to decide which of the crop do you really want to process. There are hundreds of them. We'll talk about yam, cocoa, rice. When you come to cereals, when you come to fruits, there are so many of them. So we have crop production, we have fishery, and then we have livestock. And under this livestock, there are so many of them. All right. And then we have poultry. Under poultry, we have so many of them. We have different kinds of bird that you can go into, really. So these are some of the branches.
So how much on average do you think people can actually make? Because in Nigeria now, if it is not making money, most people don't want to even listen to what you are saying. What are the opportunities in these different aspects of agriculture in Nigeria specifically?
If you take each of the agricultural value chain, there are multi-billion dollars opportunities that one can be, or money that one can be able to make from each of these areas of agriculture. If, for example, you take crop production, under crop production, there are so many aspects of crop production. There are so many, depends on the cereals, whether you want to talk about cocoa, or you want to talk about yam, or you want to talk about rice, or you want to talk about millets, or you want to talk about fruit and other thing that you might want to go into. Each of this sector, each of them that you have to go in, there are hundreds, there are so much opportunities that you can, and a lot of money that you can be able to make out of it. Let's say, for example, for someone who is into processing of rice, 3 days ago, I was in Jigawa. I traveled to Kano. From Kano, I proceeded to Jigawa. From Jigawa State, I proceeded to Adamawa. And I realized that there are a lot of communities there. And a lot of them are making a huge amount of money out of this rice farming alone. Now, when you talk about this rice farming alone, the capital, I was opportune to meet someone who is a rice farmer. And he told me that currently he has about 30 bags of rice that he would like to sell to me. And this rice, they are very fine. They were very fine, actually, and it was a long grain. He wanted to sell this rice to me. However, I tried my best to see if he can sell the 30 bag, but he insisted that he only want to sell 10 bag, that he will be keeping the remaining 20 for the family. And then I asked him why, and he told me that this 15 that he want to sell, that he's about selling to me, he will be investing that money in farming again. So you can see, by the time you multiply, and each of these bags costs around 33,000 naira, 2,000 naira to 33,000 naira. If you multiply that times 10, it's still not up to 350,000 naira, which simply means that if you have land, and with your 300 to 400,000 naira, you can be able to farm and make almost 5 million naira out of it. So if you ask me how much can people be able to make out of that, I'll tell you that with little amount of investment in agriculture, you can be able to make a lot of return, although it depends on the area of agriculture you're talking about.
In Nigeria currently, rice farmers are the richest people in the country because the price of rice is very, very high, even though when you compare the price of the local rice with the foreign rice, it's almost the same. So is this a good time for rice farmers in Nigeria, or is there something we are not seeing?
I spoke to so many of them in this practical experience that I had recently, although I've been in contact with them for some times. And the thing is, when I asked some of them, and they told me that the truth is we are making a lot of money out of this. We are seriously making a lot of money. You see, I met boys, young boys of 16, 17, 18 to 23, which is the average age of the people I met. And I realized that a lot of them even own houses, and they were doing absolutely well. They were doing absolutely well because of the money they are getting or the income they are generating from the this agriculture. Talking about local and foreign rice, a lot of Nigerians now prefer local rice instead of the foreign rice. And if you look at the local market, okay, because of the local market that we have here, you know, with the population of more than 200 million people, we are still not able to satisfy the local consumers. So most Nigerians do not even prefer to consume foreign rice, because after all, the foreign rice now is even very expensive. So if you talk about local farmers, anyone can go and take the record. If you go and if you have to speak to all these rice farmers, those that farm the rice, they are the ones that are making a lot of money, because the amount of money they invest is very small. Land is very cheap. If you travel from Kano to Jigawa State, from Jigawa State down to Yobe, down to all of these communities that are around there, you will see that there are huge amount of land that are still unutilized. A lot of people are not even utilizing this land. And that's why you can see that we have abundance land. So with little amount of money, once again, that you can invest in rice farming, not processing, because even agriculture alone, we talk about farming, for example, then we talk about processing, then we talk about logistic, then we talk about transportation, and then we talk about consumption. Each of these is a component on its own. If, for example, you are to go into farming, there are a lot of money you are going to make there. Although the opportunity, the resources you need to invest there is actually very small. All you need to do is to have your land and be in a secured place. That is number one. If you go into, for example, processing, which is the transformation of that rice into secondary product, which is processing, that also is money, although that requires more capital, because you ask about capital the other time. So that also depends on capital. Then you talk about logistics and you talk about storage. Sorry, I mean, when I mean by storage, I'm talking about storage. So storage, after storage, then you're not talking about, because we have sport storage facilities in Nigeria. Because let me give you one example. I know my time is going, but let me give you one example. If, for example, you see in the north, less than 1 month ago, a basket of tomato here in the north was just about 3,000 naira. As I'm talking to you, 1 month after, that same basket is going to 10,000. And the next 2-3 months from now, that same basket is going to cost around 25,000 naira or 30. Now imagine someone that can be able to invest in storage, so that, because tomato paste are usually, tomato generally are usually, the raw material is usually cheaper between the month of April, between the month of April, May, June. After that, it's usually, the price usually go up. So you can see that with your little amount of money, again, that you can be able to invest in farming, not processing. Because when you talk about processing, you need to invest a lot of money. If you, for example, all these communities that we have around us in the north or in the country, there are places that are there are land that are very fertile, that if you want to plant anything, you're going to make a lot of money out of it. How about the processing? Talk about, take tomato, for example. Look at the wastage. Take mango, for example. We don't even have mango processing companies here in the north. How many rice processing companies do we even have in the north here? So you can see that to invest in processing and storage actually requires a lot of money. But talking about answering your question, farming is actually very important. We talk about, look at snail farming. Look at any kind of farming. As long as there's security and you have your land, trust me, there are lots of opportunities. And right now, the people that are really making a lot of money are the real farmers, because you see someone investing 100,000 naira and he is able to make, at the end of the day, he's able to make like 1 million naira or 2 million naira afterwards.
For example, yeah, like maize, for example, has its own season. And if that season is no more in Nigeria presently, you might not be able to get maize. So, but if you go outside the country, like Saudi Arabia, they get maize all year around. So what do you think, what was preventing Nigeria from doing the same?
Yeah, you see, the thing is, there are so many issues that we are having in the agricultural sector. Our farmers do not have the technical know-how, they don't have the resources, they don't have the means, and we do not even engage in dry season farming. All right, dry season farming. The only farming we're good at is during rainy season. After that, no more farming. So assuming we can be able to we can keep farming throughout the year, then we can be able to meet up with this gap. However, talking about Saudi Arabia and other developed countries, you see, these people, their politicians or their leaders are usually patriotic about their country. So they try to invest in human capital and every other capital they need to invest. However, in Nigeria, the case is completely different. So to achieve that in Nigeria, we need to invest in storage and processing, or processing and storage. Because if you don't do that, the value chain, you can never be able to meet up to the target of what you really need to, of what you're going to. So to invest in processing and storage requires huge amount of money. And I'll give you an example. If you take tomato paste, Nigeria imports almost 30 billion naira worth of tomato paste every year. Look at fish. Fish, this ice fish, Nigeria import almost 200 billion naira worth of fish every year. All, in fact, even maize, as simple as maize, we see import maize. Of all there is no single agricultural product that would not import in this country, even though we have the capacity. But you see, you talk about a case of someone who has 1 hectare of land and is into farming, but he uses his own local tools, okay, or what you might refer to as subsistence farming, using the local resources that you have, like plough, a lot of them, and then to farm. Then talk about someone who have tractors, excavators, who have tractors, and a lot of them. So you can see, even if this one person have one hectare of land, another person also have 1 hectare of land, you can see that this person will be able to harvest more. And that's what we refer to as economic of scale. And that is very important. So for us to get this right, we must invest very hugely, because I don't know anybody, any country that cannot invest in agriculture, or any country that cannot feed its own citizens. That country can hardly survive. That country can hardly have issue of economic growth or stability.
So what are some challenges you see people face when they come into agriculture? Because personally, I've had a lot of people share their experience that, oh, in fact, one of my friends did fish farming, and he went into loss, and he said he's not going into agriculture again. So what are some challenges you see people face when they come into the agricultural space?
Just like any other business, agriculture is not just for agriculture. There are every business you're going to start. First, you need to have the technical know-how. You need to have the knowledge. You need to have the zeal first that you're going to do this. You need to be very interested in this, and then you need to have the capital, the resources, the manpower. You need to exactly study, come up to the business report, get to study the market first. You don't go into business because other people are doing the business. You want to start fish farming or you want to start, poultry business because other people. Because if you invest 10 million naira in poultry today, you can lose that money in just 2-3 days. So if you really want to survive in this very business, in any business, in fact, in agriculture, within the context of our discussion, you definitely need to have all it takes for you to go into this business. So talking about why, for example, you talk about someone who invested in fish business, and then something happened, and then all of a sudden he changes his interest and he doesn't want, and he promised never to go into agriculture again. But that is completely wrong. For example, how about the story of people who are making billions of dollars out of billions of naira and exporting fish? Nigeria have the capacity to produce a lot of fish and even export. Look at all this Argungu. Look at Kebbi State. And look at a lot of Nigerians. There are opportunities in this, and people just need to know. For example, if you go into this fishing, even under this line of fishing alone, look at the number of employment you're going to create, look at the income you're going to create for yourself, look at the way it's going to help the government, and look at the amount, look at the fact that at least you'll be supporting the government in one area. So at its time today, despite all the fishery, all the fish farmers that we have in Nigeria, and despite all the fish we are still importing, look at fish is still very expensive today, even though it's more hygienic than meat. So we still import fish. So which simply means that even that fish, even that industry alone, that sector alone is a multi-billion-dollar sector that with proper investments in that, there will be a lot of return or it for people or anyone who is going to invest in that.
In terms of, let's say, probably the number of transactions, the number of trailers they do, or in terms of monetary aspects, how big have you seen someone in the agricultural space?
The unfortunate part is that big men in Nigeria, they're the one even making billions out of this agriculture. Is Obasanjo not a farmer, the former president? Is President Muhammadu Buhari not a farmer? Most of our politicians, they are farmers. If you go to Adama, Atiku is a farmer. So the people that are making it the most out of agricultural businesses in Nigeria are the farmers, because they have the manpower, they have the knowledge, they have the managerial skills, or they are surrounded by people who have those managerial skills. And the most important of them is the resources. They have the resources to invest in these agricultural businesses. So if you want to take the best scenario to answer this question, the best case, the best way to answer this question is for you to look at why does President Muhammadu want to resign and go back to agriculture, for example? Why does Obasanjo have almost one entire village and he's into farming and he's making money out of it? So you can see Abdul Salami, our governors in Nigeria, a lot of them are into farming. So the problem is that ordinary farmers, that they're the ones that are feeling insecure because they are being attacked by banditry, they are being attacked by Fulani headsmen, and they don't have the resources. They are afraid of their life. And a lot of our farmers, remember, don't forget that despite the fact that we still have a population of more than 200 million Nigerians, remember that 70% of Nigerian citizens today are still farmers. Unfortunately, a lot of them are subsistence. A lot of them are subsistence farmers. Now, imagine if these farmers, for example, are into real, imagine they're into mechanized farming or plantation, they're into mechanized farming, where they have a lot of resources at their disposal to go into this farming and higher managerial skills. And again, our farmers need to be trained on this. And that's why we're saying we're calling on the government to see how they can support people, how they can support farmers, because this is a serious business, and it can help to grow Nigerian economy more than even the oil. And besides, before to respond to that again, look at during the colonial era. What was even the essence of colonialism? Was not the export of agricultural products? Because those agricultural products that we are exporting from Nigeria to some of these developed nations was simply because we need to feed their machine, we need to feed their people. And that was what we're doing. And that is what is still happening up till today. So this is definitely a very big opportunity that the federal government need to look into, not just about oil or mining. Agriculture is also a multi-billion-dollar industry that can continue to employ people.
You talk about how little someone can actually spend to get into the agricultural space. Like, I want it to be practical now. Let's say I want to start a rice farming business. How much do I need, and what do I need that money for?
For someone who wants to go into farming of rice, rice farming, basically, the first is you have to consider the safety of the security of that environment. And rice usually needs an area that have water, like waterlogged. You usually have where you can have a lot of access to water, at least. That is the second. The third you have to consider is the quantity you like to produce, so that, because that will help you to determine the insecticide you're going to buy, the amount of fertilizers you're going to buy. And for me, I think that's all. That's all, because we've done this before, and I'm together with people who are into this rice farming. And if you look at some of the big players in this rice farming, a lot of them are even rich men. Not even. And I'll give you an example. 2 months ago, in fact, let me give you, I started my rice business in 2019. As of 2019, a bag of rice in Nigeria, remember, a bag of rice in Nigeria was between 18 to 19,000 naira. The best rice in Nigeria at that time was Big Bull. Big Bull in 2019 was sold at the price of 21,000 to 22,000 naira. The maximum, irrespective of the location, especially within the north, is sold for 23,000 naira. That was the same price for 2019, 2020, down to 2022 and 2023. As I'm talking to you now, Big Bull is heading to 50,000 naira. There's this rice they call Police. Okay, that rice was sold at the price of 18 to 19,000. They call it CP. Sorry, to be precise, CP. That rice is current as at that time was sold at the cost of 17 to 18,000 naira. Now that same rice is now 45,000 naira to 46,000 naira. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm in the north. I'm in northern Nigeria. I'm in Kaduna State, and I do not know of any local rice that is sold below 40,000 naira. And where are we heading to? So obviously, the people that are making money out of it, for me, there are three. The first of them is the farmer. The second is of course, obviously, is those that own the processing plants, that all these plants, okay? And the third are the marketers. Those are the three people that are making money out of this rice business. And for me, even that is very good for them, we also need to see how we can do what we can be able to do in order to reduce the price of rice, because it's becoming a problem for ordinary Nigerians to eat rice daily now because of the price.
So that means someone can actually start with as low as 500,000, or not even up to that, if you want to start farming.
Yeah, definitely. For the farming, yes.
Can a single person actually operate a farm? Because I attended a conference and the man was telling me that farming is very stressful. He is very old, and he couldn't actually do all the work. He had to hire tractors and all that. Can a single person actually do this farming business?
Yeah, a single person can do it. It's just that sometimes you might need some hands to help you clear the grasses, because you're going to have weeds. You're going to have unwanted grasses around there. So you will need someone that can help you clear some of these areas, because division of labor is always very important. Sometimes, if, for example, let's say, for example, you're investing 500,000 naira, and out of this 500,000 naira, there's 50,000 naira for labor. I mean, that labor means someone that can get to fetch you water, someone that can help you secure the place, or probably someone that can help you clear some of the grasses. I think division of labor is very important. You can do it almost alone, but you need the assistance of 1 or 2 persons that can help you in order to make sure that you are able to achieve your aims.
But for currently, how much is the average cost of employing a labor per day? currently for farming business?
If you travel to the rural areas, you're still within the range of 500 to 1,000 naira. It depends on the number of hours the worker is going to serve you. However, if it's just to clear grasses, sometimes they charge you uh, depending every week. Maybe they might charge you for 3,000 to 4,000 naira. They still do it, all right? So the price per day, I think, is usually between 500 naira to 1,000 naira. You know, remember, a lot of them in the village, they are very poor. All they need is just money, what they can be able to feed, what they can use to buy food, so that they can sustain them for that very day. And 500 naira or 600 naira is still a very good price for them, especially if the farm is not very large.
So you actually talk about marketers, that is those that get the, I guess those are the people that get the products from the farmers and then they take it to the market. Is that right?
Yeah, the marketers sometimes are those that help those processing company to market their products. And
Okay.
Sometimes if someone will farm and he doesn't know how to sell his products, or he doesn't know, or there are no roads to convey those goods to outsiders. For example, I'll give you last week I was in Yobe State. About 4 or 5 days ago I was in Yobe State. And when I was there, I realized that there's this thing they call Delali. And Delali are those, when you come to the town, they have a lot of rice there. So when you come to the town, there is someone that will take you, that knows the location of every place of all the farmers that have rice. There is someone that knows a farmer, someone is storing, let's say, 100 bags of rice in his house. So the Delali knows the location. So there's another person that knows, that same Delali knows someone that is housing, that is keeping, that is storing 50 bags of rice, 100 bags of rice, 200 bags of rice. So you, as a stranger in that community, you definitely cannot be able to locate those farmers. You need the help of someone. And at the end of the business, the farmer is going to give them something, and you are also going to give them something. For us, what we were charged was 300 naira per bag. For each bag, they help you to locate the farmer to buy. You are definitely going to pay them 300 naira on top of that money you're going to pay the farmers.
Well, most of the agricultural activities in Nigeria are actually in the north. So, but for anyone staying in the southwest, and they want to start the business of not farming, but actually the distribution, that is, they want to go to the north to bring it, what are some tips you can share with them to actually be successful in that kind of business?
The thing is, you just have to try to understand the north. I don't really know much about south or east, but I know that businesses, agricultural products over there are very expensive. I traveled to certain places in the north, and I realized that you see all these animals that you see, goats, ram, and you see cow, sheep, all these chicken, they are very cheap. These are things I know are quite expensive over there. And then you see rice, we have it here. We have almost all the agricultural products here in the north. And unfortunately, they don't have it over there because they also have their own competitive advantage. So they have their own ways of making money. They have things that can also bring to the north here. So the only advice I can give them is, here, our people are very peaceful. The north here, the north is very peaceful. Nobody cares about you or your religion. The only time you tend to have problem with them is when you start speaking about their religion. And when you start doing that, you're definitely going to have problem with them. But here, the north is very peaceful, and they're always ready to accommodate anyone to do business with. But you still need to find a reliable hands anyways.
For anyone that wants to start learning about agriculture in general, what are some resources they can actually consult to learn? Because I think the reason most people fail in agriculture is because they don't learn about the trade before they get into the trade. What are some resources they can actually consult to learn more about agriculture?
I think there are two materials that you need to consult. The first of them is for you to go to school and study agricultural sciences. But I believe that that will not even give you the real knowledge that you might really want, because theory, as they say, is always different from practical. So you can, while you are in school, how about those who don't even have the time or the luxury to start going back to school now, to spend 5 years, and then they'll start defining what a tractor means, when you can simply go to the farm and see what a tractor means, and discuss with the farmer, how does he employ, how does this tractor help him to produce more, all right? How does he get to achieve more output? So the first of them is to go back to school. And the second is for you to speak to the farmers, the stakeholders, people who are into this farming for years. If it is processing you want to go into, go and discuss processing. Meet those people who are into processing, who already have plants, who already have companies, and they are doing well. And a lot of them, we have so many companies here in northern Nigeria that are into processing of rice, starting from Kaduna, Kano, Jigawa, Kebbi State, Taraba. A lot of these states, they have, in Niger State, they also have rice, a lot of them. So it depends on what you really want to. If you are talking about farming, that is a different area. If you are talking about processing, I know people from the south and south and southeast, they might prefer to go into either transport but I don't think any of them would like to go into farming because they are not really conversant with this environment here. But they can come and buy at a cheaper price here in the north and take it down. You can see, take it down to their location and then sell it at a little more higher price than what is obtainable here in the north.
Actually approaching the farmers, but do you think if you approach the farmers, they are willing to teach you? Because a lot of people will give the excuse that, okay, most people will not want to show you the way or something like that.
Yeah, I think if you approach a farmer, a lot of them are not difficult to speak to. If you approach a farmer and you're telling him that, okay, I'm going to pay you 10,000 naira. I want you to take me to your farm and tell me how the process is. How do you start planting this rice? What are your basic experience that you've had? What are the challenges that you've had ever since you started this business? How long have you started this business? Get your pen and paper and ask them this question. Pay them little amount of tokens, and then you definitely see what they're going to what the knowledge you're going to acquire from them might be more important to you in this field of business than what you're going to obtain, what you're going to learn in class. Remember, just like they say, the fact that you study political science doesn't make you the best politician, or just because the fact that you study accounting doesn't make you the best accountant, or the fact that you study agricultural science doesn't mean you might just do well in that area as well. There are people who are just gifted, and there are people who have acquired their experience throughout the years because of because they are into this business on daily basis. So they might be able to tell you something that you might not be able to learn within the 4 walls of the class.
So what are some advice you like to give to entrepreneurs that, whether in the agriculture space or any other area, especially those that want to do business in Nigeria or that are doing business in Nigeria on a smaller scale? What are some advice you want to give them?
Doing business is not easy. It's going to be very challenging. You're going to see a lot of things. Sometimes if it is farming, you might even see erosion. Don't give up. Myself, I'm not really successful yet. I'm still working very hard to see that my company becomes one of the most recognized brands in Africa in terms of agriculture, because I see that agriculture is the new oil. It's going to be the oil that will drive growth in Nigeria. All right. So be very hardworking, be very consistent, be very deliberate about your success, and be very passionate about any sector or any kind of business that you really want to. It's going to be hard, just like I said, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And prayer alone is not going to solve it, but you just have to continue working hard, and eventually you will succeed in this business.
Wow, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to leave the link to your contacts as well as email address in the comments in the description of this video. Thank you very much for joining me. I've personally, I've learned a lot of things, and this is one of the most interesting sessions I've ever had on this podcast. Thank you very much for joining me. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you for the invite.